Hello, dear friend. Before we begin our quiet journey tonight, I'd like you to find the most comfortable position you can. Maybe you're lying down already, your head resting on a pillow that feels just right. Maybe the light in your room is already dim, or maybe you've left a soft glow nearby. Wherever you are, this is your time now. The day has been busy enough, and nothing is required of you but to listen and to let the slow rhythm of history carry you towards sleep. You don't need to remember anything from what you hear. You can let the words wash past you, like the sound of a river moving steadily through the night. I'll speak slowly, as though I were telling you a story by the fireside, and you can drift in and out as you like. Our journey tonight takes us far back in time, thousands of years, to the warm, moonlit sands of ancient Egypt, where dreams were more than fleeting images. They were messages, signs, sometimes even glimpses of the divine. We'll wander through quiet temples and shaded courtyards. We'll walk along the banks of the Nile at night, and we'll see how the people of this ancient land read and understood their dreams. Let's begin our story slowly, softly. The sky over ancient Egypt at night was wide and clear, a velvet darkness scattered with stars. Out here, away from the bustle of modern life, the air felt different. The desert kept its own kind of silence, a stillness so deep that even the softest sounds seemed to travel far. Somewhere in the distance, a thin breeze might stir the reeds by the riverbank, and the Nile, the lifeblood of the land, flowed on, patient and unhurried. It's easy to imagine a small village along the river thousands of years ago. Mud brick houses clustered together for shade by day and warmth at night. A faint glow from an oil lamp spilling through a doorway. The smell of bread cooling from the evening meal. Families gather quietly after the day's work, their voices low and steady. In these homes, the night was not something to shut out, it was something to enter into. The darkness brought coolness after the hot sun, and with it, the long hours of sleep. But for the people of ancient Egypt, sleep was not simply rest, it was a journey. The Egyptians believed that when you closed your eyes and drifted into slumber, part of your soul, what they called the Ba, could travel. The Ba might visit distant lands, speak with the gods, or see things that had not yet happened. And when morning came, it would return bringing back images and messages from those travels. These were dreams, and dreams mattered. Imagine a man named Hori, living perhaps around 1300 BCE in the time of the New Kingdom. He's a scribe by trade, careful with his reed pen, precise with his ink. By day, he writes accounts for the temple. By night, he sleeps in a small room on a simple bed frame with woven cords, a thin mattress atop it. Tonight, as Hori drifts to sleep, he thinks of a dream from the night before. In it, he saw a great falcon swooping low over the fields. It circled 3 times, then rose toward the horizon. To him, this image lingers. What could it mean? In the world he lives in, this is not just an idle question. It is a matter for interpretation, a clue about what the gods might be saying. The art of dream reading in ancient Egypt was not something left to chance. There were those trained to understand these messages, often temple priests or scribes who kept special records known as dream books. These books, carefully written on papyrus scrolls, held lists of dream symbols and their meanings. If you dreamed of a falcon, one book might say it could mean divine favor or the presence of the god Horus. If you dreamed of drinking cool water, it might mean good health was coming. And if you dreamed of something unpleasant, well, there were rituals for that too. In this quiet night scene, perhaps Hori decides that tomorrow he'll walk to the temple and consult with a priest skilled in such matters. He will describe the dream, and the priest will consult the sacred scrolls. The answer will be given softly, perhaps over a cup of date wine, in the shaded colonnade of the temple courtyard. For now, though the night is deep, the village is quiet, dogs sleep curled near the doors. The air carries the faint scent of lotus from the river, and in many houses, dreams are already unfolding. The Egyptians did not see dreams as distractions. They saw them as bridges, links between the human and the divine. And so, every night was a small crossing into that other place where messages waited in the dark. Tonight we will stay with them. We listen to the slow hush of the Nile. We feel the air grow cooler and the stars wheel gently overhead. And somewhere, in the shadow of the temple, a scribe writes by the dim glow of a lamp, recording a dream for the ages. The sun has risen and set once more. Another day in ancient Egypt has ended, and in the cool shadow of dusk, the temple slowly empties of its daytime visitors. The great stone walls, carved with scenes of gods and kings, still hold the heat from the sun. The air smells faintly of incense, resinous, sweet, and lingering in the stillness. The priests have finished their evening prayers, the offering tables are cleared, and the sound of sandals on the flagstones grows rare. Soon, the temple will settle into its nighttime rhythm, a different sort of life from the day. It is in these quiet hours, often after sunset, that a certain practice takes place, the seeking of dreams on purpose. The Egyptians had a word for this, something like incubation. A person might come to the temple not just to pray, but to sleep within its sacred space, hoping for a dream that would answer a question, heal an illness, or offer guidance. This was not done casually. Before entering, the dream seeker might fast for a short while, bathe in the river, and wear clean linen. The priests would lead them through purification rituals, washing the hands and face, perhaps anointing the skin with fragrant oil. And then, in the dim light, they would be shown to a quiet chamber, sometimes a small, enclosed room deep within the temple, other times an open courtyard where the stars could be seen overhead. Here, on a low bed or mat, the seeker would lie down and wait for sleep to come. The belief was simple and profound. Here, in this sacred place, the gods would draw nearer and speak in dreams. Imagine the soft murmuring of other dream seekers settling in nearby, the low crackle of an oil lamp's flame, the coolness of the stone beneath your hands. Outside, the desert night begins to breathe, its air carrying scents of palm, water, and warm sand. The priests would sometimes remain nearby, quietly tending the lamps, keeping the space safe and still. They knew that dreams in this setting were not mere private visions, they were messages worth remembering, perhaps worth sharing with the temple record keepers. In the dream books kept by scribes, hundreds of examples were written down. If a man dreams he sees himself eating crocodile flesh, good, it means he will gain power over his enemies. If a woman dreams she is looking into a clear pool, good, it means she will receive truthful news. If a man dreams of falling from a height, bad, it means misfortune will come unless offerings are made. These lists were not meant to frighten. Rather, they were tools for decoding the strange language of dreams, where symbols replaced words, and the images of the night carried meaning as surely as hieroglyphs on stone. Sometimes the dreams brought comfort. A sick person might dream of being touched by a god, perhaps Thoth, the wise scribe, or Sekhmet, the healer in her fierce lioness form, and wake feeling lighter, calmer, restored. Other times the dream might be puzzling or dark. Then the priests might recommend a ritual, burning certain herbs, offering bread or beer to a particular deity, or reciting protective words at sunrise. In this way, dream reading was not just about curiosity. It was a living part of how the Egyptians moved through the world. It shaped decisions, when to plant, when to travel, when to make an offering or change a course of action. Here in the temple at night, the lines between waking and dreaming grew thin. Perhaps you would drift to sleep hearing the soft chanting of a hymn or the faint splash of water in a basin. You would feel the cool night air on your skin, smell the faint sweetness of lotus petals placed near your bed. And in that quiet, you might see the first shapes of a dream rising like the moon over the horizon of your mind. Morning would come gently. The sun's light would pour into the temple courtyard. The priests would wake the dream seekers, bringing water for washing and small trays of bread and figs. And one by one, you would tell your dream, letting the priests write it into their scrolls. Perhaps your dream would be brief, only a glimpse of a white bird flying east, or perhaps it would be long, a tapestry of images. Either way, it would join the countless others recorded in Egypt's long history, a quiet message carried forward from the night. And as you step out into the brightness of day, you carry it with you still, the knowledge that in your sleep you had spoken with the divine and been heard. In the heart of the city, where narrow streets wind between whitewashed walls, there lives a man whose work is not to build or to trade, but to listen and to write. His name is Painesi. He is a temple scribe, trained not only in the skill of hieroglyphs, but in the reading of dreams. His home is modest, a small courtyard with a fig tree, a low roof to keep out the sun, a bench where he often sits in the shade, sharpening his reed pens. But his days often begin within the cool stone walls of the temple, where he copies prayers, records offerings, and most importantly for our story, writes down the dreams of the people who come seeking guidance. Each morning, the temple gates open as the air is still fresh. Worshippers step inside, carrying baskets of bread, small jars of honey, or garlands of flowers for the gods. Among them, there are always a few who come with dreams. They might have dreamed of a serpent, of a flooded field, of hearing music in the night. Painesi sits at a low table in the colonnade, the smell of ink and papyrus around him. When someone approaches, he listens carefully, never hurrying them. The dreamer might speak softly, still unsure if their vision was important. Painesi writes each detail, what they saw, what they felt, whether the dream came early in the night or just before waking. In his careful hand, the flowing curves and sharp lines of hieroglyphs take shape. Beside him, there is often a scroll already unrolled, a dream book, consulted many times a day. It is a compilation of knowledge gathered from elders, from priests of other cities, from scrolls centuries old. In its columns, each dream image is listed alongside its meaning, often beginning with the words, "If a man sees himself," or "If a woman dreams that." The symbols range from the ordinary to the strange. If a man dreams he sees himself under a sycamore tree, good, it means long life. If a woman dreams she is given gold jewelry, good, it means honor and joy. If a man dreams of seeing a crocodile, bad, it means danger from an enemy. Painesi knows the book well, but he also knows that not every dream fits neatly into its lines. Sometimes the gods speak in ways that cannot be traced on a list. Then he must use his judgment, his sense of the dreamer's life, and perhaps even his own quiet prayer to Thoth before speaking. The dreamer leaves not only with an interpretation, but with a sense that their dream has been heard, taken seriously, and placed in the larger web of meaning that connects the living with the divine. For Painesi, this work is not just writing, it is preserving a conversation between the gods and the people. He believes that every dream is like a drop of water in the Nile, small on its own, but part of something vast, flowing, and ancient. In the afternoon, when the temple grows quiet, Painesi sometimes walks to the edge of the river. There, he watches the fishermen pulling in their nets, listens to the creak of wooden boats, and thinks of the dreams he has recorded that day. A man dreaming of a green field when the land is dry. A woman dreaming of hearing her mother's voice, though her mother has long gone to the afterlife. These images stay with him. At night, when he returns home and the city falls into stillness, Painesi sometimes dreams as well. His own dreams he records in a separate scroll, one kept hidden in a clay jar. Not because they are secret in the way of politics or crime, but because they are personal, messages meant for him alone. In these dreams, he might see himself walking along a path lined with lotus flowers, or he might see an ibis, the bird of Thoth, flying low over the river. These dreams, he believes, are gentle signs that his work matters, that the gods are pleased with his service. The scribe of dreams does not always know what will happen to the messages he writes. Perhaps the dreamer will follow the guidance and find good fortune. Perhaps they will forget the details by next season. But Painesi knows that each dream, once written, becomes part of Egypt's long memory, a memory as patient and enduring as the stones of the temple itself. Tonight, as the stars rise over the city, Painesi will lie on his simple bed, listening to the faint sounds of the streets. Somewhere nearby, a flute plays a slow, wandering tune, and as sleep comes, he will drift once more into that hidden country where every dream is a story waiting to be told. Far from the grand temples and bustling cities, there are small villages where the Nile bends and the fields lie green in its flood season. Here, life moves in a slower rhythm. The people wake with the sun, work in the fields, or tend to their craft through the day, and when evening comes, they return to the simple comfort of their homes. The houses are built from sun-dried mud brick, their walls thick enough to hold in the coolness after sunset. Roofs are flat, sometimes used for sleeping on warm nights or for drying herbs and vegetables in the heat of day. The air smells faintly of smoke from cooking fires, and the low murmur of conversation drifts from one doorway to another. As the sun disappears beyond the western horizon, the direction of the afterlife in Egyptian belief, the sky deepens to violet, then to a soft darkness filled with stars. People step outside their doorways to greet neighbors or sit quietly with their families, watching the river reflect the first glimmers of moonlight. Here, dreams are not the domain of priests alone. Every household holds its own knowledge of dream signs passed down through generations. A grandmother might tell her granddaughter, "If you dream of planting grain, it means you will have plenty." A father might say, "If you dream of hearing a bird sing in the night, it could be a message from someone who has gone to the west." Before sleep, some people perform small personal rituals to invite good dreams. A sprig of fresh mint might be placed under pillow for clear and pleasant visions. A clay amulet of Bes, the cheerful, protective household god, might be kept by the bedside, his wide eyes watching over the sleeper. Children are told stories of how the gods watch over dreamers, guiding their souls through the night's journey. Inside one such home, a family gathers around a low table for their evening meal. Bread baked in the clay oven, a small dish of stewed lentils, and figs picked earlier in the day. The youngest child fights to stay awake, eyes heavy, head resting against his mother's arm. Later, the beds are prepared, simple wooden frames with mats of woven reeds, or sometimes just a layer of soft straw on the floor. A thin linen sheet is enough for the cool night air. Oil lamps are extinguished one by one, leaving only the faint silver light from the moon through a doorway. In the quiet, you might hear the slow rhythm of breathing as the family drifts into sleep. Outside, the night creatures begin their own activities, the rustle of a lizard in the reeds, the splash of a fish in the shallows, the occasional bark of a distant dog. The smell of earth and river water mixes with the faint sweetness of lotus flowers carried on the breeze. In their dreams, the villagers walk familiar paths and unknown ones. A farmer might dream of a flood that brings rich black soil to his fields. A weaver might dream of a bolt of cloth more beautiful than any she has ever made. A child might dream of playing with a kitten beneath the palm trees. When morning comes, the dreams will be told over breakfast, weighed for their meaning. Some will be dismissed with a smile, just a child's fancy. Others will be remembered and spoken of again to neighbors, or even brought to the attention of the temple scribes if they seem important. In this way, the life of dreams runs alongside the life of waking, two currents flowing together like the twin channels of the Nile. And tonight, as the village sleeps, the moon rises higher, its light stretching across the darkened fields. Somewhere, in the deep hours before dawn, a dream will come that will be spoken of for many days, a small message, passed quietly from the world of night to the world of day. The road to the healing temple winds along the river, shaded here and there by date palms. Pilgrims walk slowly, some leaning on sticks, some helped by family. They have come not just for prayers, but for rest and for dreams. In ancient Egypt, illness was not always treated with herbs alone. It was believed that certain ailments, especially those of the mind or spirit, could be healed through dreams. The gods themselves could visit a sleeper and bring comfort or even direct instructions for a cure. The most famous of these temples were dedicated to Imhotep, the great architect and physician who, over centuries, came to be worshipped as a god of healing. His shrines were peaceful places, set apart from the noise of daily life. Their courtyards were planted with sycamores and tamarisks, their walls painted with scenes of blessings and offerings. When a sick person arrived, they would first be welcomed by the temple attendants, who offered water for washing and a seat in the shade. The priests might speak softly with them, learning the nature of the illness, and then guide them through small rituals, perhaps burning fragrant resin or placing a protective amulet around the neck. Then came the most important part, the sleeping. The dream chambers were cool, dim spaces, often built deep within the temple where the air stayed steady and the outside world could not intrude. Mats were laid out, each with a small pillow stuffed with reeds or papyrus fibers. Sometimes a light cloth was placed over the sleeper, smelling faintly of herbs. Before lying down, the dreamer might offer a whispered prayer to Imhotep, to Sekhmet, or to another god known for healing. The words might be as simple as, "Grant me a dream that brings health." As they drifted into sleep, the temple was quiet but not silent. Somewhere, water might trickle from a fountain into a stone basin. In a distant hall, a priest might chant softly, his voice rising and falling like the rhythm of breath. The belief was that during the night, the god could visit the sleeper in the dream, showing them what was wrong and how to make it right. Sometimes the vision was clear, a god handing the dreamer a particular plant or touching the part of the body that hurt. Other times, the message came as a symbol, a flooded field for cleansing, a bird taking flight for release from pain. In the morning, the priests would listen to the dream and decide on the next steps. If the god had shown a plant, the temple herbalists would prepare it. If a ritual was suggested, the priests would perform it. And often, alongside these spiritual remedies, they would provide practical medicine, ointments, poultices, or mixtures of honey and herbs. Some dreamers left the temple healed in body. Others left with a lighter spirit, feeling as though they had been heard by the gods. And some returned many times, sleeping again in the hope of a new dream, a deeper answer. The priests recorded these healing dreams in scrolls, adding them to the temple's growing archive. One might read, Year 4, second month of Perit. A woman named Tia came with a fever. She slept in the chamber of Imhotep. She dreamed that a white cat lay upon her chest and purred. The god said, "Boil barley and drink the water." She awoke, and the barley water was given. Her fever left on the second day. These quiet records show a blending of faith, observation, and care. A world where healing came through both the touch of the divine and the skill of the earthly. In the deep hours of night, the dream chambers were like islands of stillness, each sleeper drifting in their own vision. Outside, the temple walls guarded them from the wind, from noise, from the worries of the waking world. Somewhere within that stillness, a dream might arrive as gently as the dawn light, carrying with it the first glimmer of recovery. The night in ancient Egypt has a way of stretching on, long and unbroken, like the Nile itself. It is in these hours, when the villagers are sleeping and the river drifts calmly past, that dreams feel closest to the surface, like lotus flowers rising to meet the air. For the Egyptians, the dream world was not far away. It was another shore, another bank of the same river they walked beside each day. On one side was the waking life, work, family, the sun overhead. On the other was the land of sleep, where the soul could wander, where the gods could speak, and where the future might whisper itself in symbols. Across all the different corners of this land, temples in the cities, villages by the fields, quiet healing chambers deep in stone halls, there was the shared understanding that dreams mattered. The scribe, sitting in the colonnade at dawn, recording the visions of those who came to him. The grandmother telling her granddaughter that planting grain in a dream is a sign of abundance. The sick man, lying in the cool dark of a temple chamber, waiting for a god to visit in the night. And always the same soft rhythm. The dream is seen, the dream is told, the dream is read. Sometimes the meaning was clear, sometimes it was hidden, like a fish in the deep water, but it was never ignored. To live in ancient Egypt was to live with the sense that every night carried a message, and every morning was a chance to unwrap it. When a dream was troubling, the Egyptians had their ways of setting it right. A small offering might be made, a loaf of bread left at a shrine, a few drops of beer poured into the earth. Protective words could be spoken at sunrise, sending any bad fortune back into the shadows. When a dream was good, it was celebrated quietly. The dreamer might smile as they went about their work, planting seeds or grinding grain, knowing the gods had smiled on them in the night. The Nile itself was often a dream symbol, a sign of life, of renewal, of endless return. It carried silt and water from faraway lands, just as the dream carried images from distant realms of the mind. The river's flooding was as certain as the turning of the seasons, and in the same way, dreams came each night, whether welcome or not. In the still hours before dawn, the water glimmered under the moonlight. The palm fronds shifted in the faint wind. Somewhere, a boat's oar dipped quietly into the current, and in the homes along the riverbank, people dreamed, each in their own way, each carrying their own questions into the night. A boy might dream of a hawk that spoke in a human voice. A woman might dream of walking across the desert, following a star. An old man might dream of sitting beneath a sycamore tree, waiting for someone who never appears. In time, they would all wake, rise to the morning light, and tell their dreams to whoever would listen. The story would pass from mouth to mouth, or into the ink of a scribe's hand, or simply into the quiet memory of the dreamer. And just as the Nile never truly stops flowing, the stream of dreams in ancient Egypt never ended. It was a river between worlds, carrying whispers from the gods, signs for the living, and stories for those willing to listen. Now, as our own journey through this ancient night draws to a close, the temple lamps are nearly burned out, and the first pale light is touching the horizon. The dreamers are waking, stretching, stepping back into the day. We can leave them here, in this soft moment, knowing that tonight, and every night to come, they will step once more into that other place. And you can let yourself drift now, the way the Nile drifts under the moon. Let the voices of this old land fade into the quiet. Let the river carry you toward your own dreams. The stars are still above you, the air is still gentle. And there is nothing else to do but rest. And so, the river keeps flowing. The temples remain in their quiet watch, the villages rest beneath the palms, and the night stretches over the sands just as it has for thousands of years. The people of ancient Egypt have told their dreams, read their signs, and return to their daily lives, knowing that the night will always come again, and with it, the silent language of sleep. You have walked their paths tonight, through the shaded courtyards, along the cool colonnades, past the doorways where families rest. You have stood beside the Nile at midnight, and you have listened to the slow heartbeat of the past. Now you can leave their world behind, or perhaps carry it with you into your own dreams. There is no rush, no task waiting, no need to remember anything you've heard. Let the words scatter like grains of sand in the wind. Let the images fade into soft shapes. Feel the quiet in your body, the steady rhythm of your breath, the weight of the pillow beneath your head. You are safe, you are warm, the world outside can wait. If your mind wanders, let it drift the way the Nile drifts, slow, winding, unhurried. If you find yourself on the edge of sleep, let yourself tip forward into it, like a boat gliding into still water. Somewhere ahead, your own dreams are waiting, gentle, calm, ready to take you wherever you wish to go. The night is yours, the river is still. Rest now and sleep well.